Welcome to the Depth Dialogues podcast,
where we explore how depth psychology is applied to tackle contemporary social issues.
I'm Kirk Schneider.
And I'm Tyler Gamlin. Welcome back, everyone. We are honored to have Dr. Alice Maher as our guest. Dr. Maher is an American psychiatrist and psychoanalyst based in New York City. She founded Changing Our Consciousness, a nonprofit organization dedicated to developing tools to understand and mitigate intergroup conflict. In 2004, she started a listserv for colleagues to explore the application of the psychoanalytic model to societal issues, which led to the creation of the Waging Dialogue forums. In 2008, Dr. Maher founded Changing Our Consciousness to foster understanding and dialogue among people with diverse perspectives. The organization has evolved to focus on developing emotional literacy through various educational and methodological projects, including the Waging Dialogue Project and Emotional Imprint curriculum for K through 12 education. Dr. Maher continues to innovate and collaborate, notably with Professor June Cleese, to bring Waging Dialogue to college programs and with students to produce the insightful ebook Divides. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Alice Maher to the Depth Dialogues podcast. Now let's turn to Kirk to begin our conversation.
Well, thanks so much, Tyler, and thanks so much for being here, Alice.
Thank you for inviting me.
I've greatly valued our time working together and just feel very passionately about the work that you're doing in bringing psychoanalysis to the social arena, to social crises, which are obviously so acute right now as we hear today in particular, in the wake of the recent event of the attempt on Donald Trump's life, which I'm sure we'll get into in some way later on. But I wanted to begin, Alice, if you could convey to us some about your personal background, your personal motives for creating the curriculum you created, as well as Waging Dialogues, where you attempt to build bridges with folks who are often on very contrasting positions from yourself. And the one I'm thinking of in particular was when you worked with the extremely conservative talk show host recently. So if you could tell us what brought you here.
Okay. See if I can do this briefly. I feel very, very passionately about what I'm doing. I've been in private practice for almost 50 years. I could be retired and on the beach right now, but I'm dedicating, I feel like I'm in a race to the finish line to get something out in the world that I think needs to be out there, and that I think I see. I not only see, but I experienced. So I'll tell you briefly about my story. I started psychoanalytic training in 1978. I was a newly minted psychiatrist and I was 26 years old. And I was young, Catholic, and soon to be pregnant in a world full of older atheist Jewish men. And none of that was ever discussed. The social world was just not part of the training at all. But something felt different. I loved it. I was fascinated by the analytic model, but I read the standard edition more like I read the Catholic Bible than the Talmud. There was something different about the way I understood what Freud was doing. They were a little more literal. What did he mean by the Oedipus complex? And I'm thinking he's just sort of playing with really interesting levels of abstraction about human nature. So the social political world was under the surface for my entire training. I was the good Catholic girl and I gave them the right answers and I graduated and it was fine. But after I graduated, I sort of had this insight that the fundamental problem in the Freudian model was his lack of insight into his own creative genius. He saw himself as a scientist. And meanwhile, he did not know what women wanted. Oh, babies, hello? And beside the problem of the creative artist, psychoanalysis must, alas, lay down his arms. There's no art. And God is an illusion. God is nonsense. So, my dynamics as Catholic pregnant artist of sorts was just not there. So I wrote a paper entitled Creativity, a Work in Progress. And I wrote all of this. And I got an award, and I got publication in my favorite journal, and lots of applause and presentations. But then everyone went back to their usual and customary. And everything happened, but nothing happened. So I'm saying, I just reimagined psychoanalysis around my own fantasies. And everybody's saying it's wonderful, but they're not working with it. They're not doing it, helping me do anything with it. So what do? So I went to this senior analyst, a guy I really respected, who was the chair of the board on professional standards of the American Psychoanalytic Association. I mean, he represented classical psychoanalytic standards, the kind where you don't budge. You're, and neutral and anonymous, and you do it this way and only this way. So I went to him with this problem. Am I seeing something that's some unresolved issue with myself, or am I seeing something that the field needs to see? Because the field was struggling at that point. The one-person model was breaking down, and the two-person model was coming in. Or the relational, suddenly everybody was, relational, intersubjective, interpersonal, all these variations on, you could be a Kleinian and a Lacanian and pick Cahutian, pick your, what's going on here? So what we did was we sort of created a new process. Together, we decided to meet 5 times a year with no charge, and he would read the letters that I wrote in between. This was right at the beginning of the internet. And we agreed to that structure. And he wrote some letters back. It was mostly me, and periodically it was him. And we would meet and chat about anything from very simple, what your kids are doing and what's going on in the news and what you read yesterday, or have a fight about something, misunderstand something, provoke each other. So it would be, we'd go anywhere. And we did it it was about 10 years. And in the last year, we fought a war, and we almost killed each other. I mean, when I say that, I mean, we almost ruined each other's reputations. We reached a place where my paradigm and his came into a head-on collision. As he continued to maintain the neutral, anonymous, he's doing me a favor, and he's helping me, figure something out. And I wanted to take what we were doing and turn it into a new technique and a new theory and tell people about it. And he didn't want to tell people about it because people were already looking at us like, what are those two doing? So we were stuck because I couldn't be creative unless he gave me permission to. And he couldn't maintain his, religious belief, so to speak, if I outed him as doing something really weird. So we had a head-on collision, but the end of it was like the end of a good theatrical production, a good movie, a good novel. We met in a place where we both at the same time said, oh, that's it. And we resolved it with that kind of Shakespeare, if it's not a tragedy or a comedy, not a happy ending, but a worthy ending where we both went on, and eventually he let me write the story in my book. I didn't use his name, but I wrote about a chapter in a couple of chapters in my book is about our story, and he gave me permission to do that, and it worked out beautifully. So that's how I came to believe that this is possible. People from very different paradigms and very different needs, if they meet and they stay in the room and just work through something and care enough about themselves and each other, you know, be true to yourself and true to the other person, and just plain true at the same time, that you will be able to resolve something. So that's when I started saying, you know, yes, with some kind of creative imagination, we can take analytic theory and transfer it into this other arena. And that's when I started doing these other projects. Started out with, you know, listservs were coming into being at that point. We started, you know, I started learning about the new technology, help sort of figure out what relationships were like across vast divides. Because if you're just a sentence on a page and a picture on Facebook, then I'm going to relate to you very differently. I'm going to completely misunderstand what you're talking about, because you're not a person, you're a sentence. And we can say anything we want because you're not a person, you're a sentence. So I can say you're an idiot much more easily than I can in person.
And there's no gatekeeper telling you that you can't write that.
That's right.
So this information is just being shared.
That's right.
For better or worse, but you know, oh, there are opinions that are different than mine.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them.
Absolutely. And it was weird to have these, you know, a lot of them were analysts, and we just came into head-on collisions so quickly. And yeah,
I'm sorry, that's something that strikes me too, is how primal these issues can be.
absolutely.
Right? Ideologies, our own profession, obviously, as well as politics, culture, and religion.
It's absolutely, it's primal. One of the reasons of why we use waging dialogue. I put the word waging in it because people look at me, and maybe it's a feminine prejudice, but when I say I host dialogue forum, or, you know, I get this kind of sad, oh, this sweet little Pollyanna girl who thinks we can save the world by talking nice to each other. And somehow leading with, no, I think we need to wage war in words and survive it. It's, I can go there if I use that language.
Well, and it makes me think about this ability to associate freely, right? And there's not this intention, you know, of I'm trying to change your mind. It's just the ability to have a forum to say I have a different view from you.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to bring it back. What was driving you for all that time when you were kind of butting up against this colleague that you were working with? Because there's passion that I'm hearing there to say I'm continuing and we're struggling, and that is so important. And I'm happy you persevered, because we need that. And where was that coming from?
I think it was a desire to be true to myself and understand what's wrong. In psychoanalysis, it's all about that. They promised me I could do that. Say anything that comes to mind.
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, we will be able to hear you. So it's like, you're not doing that. You're hearing me up to a certain point. But at a certain point, you're not. You're missing something. And but they were just as well intentioned as I was. I did not have abusive teachers. I didn't have stupid teachers. My teachers were really remarkable people, but they were missing something. And I think in that space was where I wanted to. If they were idiots, I would have walked away. If they were just wrong or just bad, I would have said, I'm not here. But they had something that I wanted.
I'm sorry, you're bringing, it sounds like you're bringing certain elements of psychoanalysis to the social arena.
Absolutely.
Free association, obviously, a major dimension of your work, it seems to me.
Yeah.
uh, and allowing people's humanity to come to the fore, providing a space to
Space.
support that, to
That's
validate that, and to have coexisting differences in the room together, the tension. Would you also say that well, like what Kohut calls the transmuting internalization is an important part of this? For example,
that will happen. Yeah.
coming into ruptures with each other, but being able to work it through and learning new internalizations about the other.
If people believe that it's possible, I think they will want it. Right now, they don't. I think it's exciting. I think of it as a new adventure, as exploring uncharted territory. But they have to believe that it's possible. And right now they don't. Right now, it's just easier to stick with your team and go root for your guy against the other guy. And that's more fun. But nobody believes that it's actually possible to solve a problem by just staying in the room with an other for as long as it takes.
Right. Well, and it sounds like there's this unmasking of humanism there too, this being genuine and having this unconditional positive regard. Like, you can say what's on your mind and we can disagree, but I'm still going to see you.
Yeah. Yep.
I still see you here, and I'm not deducing you or judging you because we disagree on something. And you
Absolutely.
can shake hands and walk away and, okay, I'll see you next week. And we've unearthed differences.
Absolutely. I mean, I have this ongoing dialogue with this man who was at the Capitol, at the insurrection, and documented the journalist who documented some people that he thought were FBI, from the FBI, and a lot of people just think he's nuts, and a lot of people applaud him, and a lot of people think he's nuts, and I'm just curious about it. I'm not going to take a stand. I don't know who these men are that he filmed at the Capitol, but I'm curious about who he is and how he got to be who he is, and we've become really good friends. I posted one thing on Substack, and I've been getting lots of people subscribing from him. They're all from him. And he joins my dialogue projects, and we've become very good friends. And I think we could, go somewhere with it. Just, we're interested in each other.
So,
and that in itself it's unfortunately unique.
yeah. So what do you think it's going to take for people to feel more open to engaging with folks like yourself?
What I'm doing now is working on a large scale and a small scale. I think on a large scale, we need a movement. And I've seen movements throughout the course of my life, so I know they're possible. The young people now fighting for Gaza is like, it's a tidal wave. My Jewish friends don't know what hit them. The Black Lives Matter movement. One thing that really disturbs me is cancel culture. Right now, it's like the right thing to do. If you offend me, I can imagine that I can make you go away by pushing a button, and you are deleted from my life. And so psychologically, I can imagine you're gone, but you're not gone. You're just more angry at me and more entrenched in your belief because I just tried to make you go away. I would love a movement that uncancel culture. Take back everybody that you unfriended and blocked and deleted and ghosted, and re-invite them into your world and just figure out how to have new conversations.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree. And some of the feedback I've heard about being in favor of the cancel culture is, well, I don't want to enable this behavior. If you say something offensive and you have a position of power, you don't get to move forward and have a pass. So how do what is the dialogue that needs to happen here and saying, well, I'm not enabling it. I'm just not canceling it.
Yeah.
I'm not canceling them. There's an opportunity to learn. If you imagine being in grade school and you get an answer wrong and you're just kicked out of school.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm here to learn. are those other individuals willing to listen and learn?
Yeah. The first
That's
thing
where it starts to become, okay, do you want to do better? Do you want to know why this is an issue?
I think the first thing that we need to do is make people realize that we're all equal human beings.
Mm-hmm.
That we're so quick to say, you know, you're racist, you're anti-Semitic, you're sexist, you're transphobic, you're homophobe, but you know, if I think differently from you, it's okay to say, you know, go away. You're no good.
Mm-hmm.
No, you know, maybe your skin color is different, you're all right. Your religion is different, you're all right. But if your thinking is different, you're not all right. Go away. We need to, you know, get people to look at the fact that we're equal human beings. If you're psychotic, you're still a worthy human being.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, it's start from that, and then you can be interested to get to know the person. I think of the whether you're right or wrong in your beliefs as the last thing that happens. The first thing is just getting to know a different person and trying to figure out how to either make friends or build an alliance or tolerate each other, just to be able to exist in the same space.
And how do you create that? I mean, I've seen you in action. You do it beautifully in an unstructured way.
Yeah.
You know?
I'd like to create it in a structured way. I see what you do. I was looking at some of your dialogues and the Braver Angels model, where it is more structured. You know, my training is not, I couldn't do that. I couldn't hold to 2 minutes of this and 3 minutes of that. And then it's just not my thing. My style is more just the free associative model.
Yes.
Has problems of its own. I think we need, as I said, on a large scale, just getting people to do it. Have a party with people from the other, or invite them to your social media. Do it any way you want. Just try it. Yeah. On a small scale, we have very complex theory and methodologies that can be used. You know, psychiatry, psychology, psychoanalysis, couples therapy, you know, debate models, political, you know, dialogue models. There religious models. There's lots of models that can be used for people to just try to look at impasses and figure out what goes wrong, and push through it. But people have to be motivated. It's too easy to walk away when the going gets rough. You know, oh, that was interesting. See ya.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, I think that's one of the biggest challenges is how do we get people to come more from a place of attempting to learn about and understand the other rather than imposing their views and scrambling to take over the conversation or to win.
Yeah, that is, you know, all I can say is well, the classic psychoanalysis joke. How many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? Only one, but the light bulb has to really want to change.
Yeah.
You have to motivate these light bulbs to really want to change. They can. People will be able to. Neuroplasticity is a thing. We can change a fight or flight dynamic, but we have to be motivated to do it. And I think we can only be motivated on a large scale as well as a small scale.
I think you're right. I think we need a lot more safe spaces for that to happen, yes. And so that
we create spaces. People have told me it has a religious-like quality, a space to bring people together and work together for some greater good. It's like a secular religion. You know, that we can do this. I designed this curriculum for young people that I taught for 5 or 6 years at an after-school program in Harlem until the kids graduated. But it was fascinating. What we did in our pilot project for middle school kids was we gave them different identities that they picked out of a hat. Different, the first time it was mostly different sexes and careers and salaries. And then the full semester course, it got more nuanced with family structures but just to say, you're a bus driver, your salary is $50,000 a year, you have 2 kids. And, and here's your tax bracket, write a check to the IRS and the rest is yours. But the first thing that the kids did was the kids with the lower, the least respected jobs or incomes, they did not want it. They were really upset. And the kids who were the investment bankers and the celebrity musicians, and they were so hot. I'm a pediatrician, but and just to help them realize this is a game, this is an exercise. This person over here is just as good as that person over there. And it took them a while to get it through their heads. They wanted to trade. I want to be the rich, famous guy. And just that much of emotional work was invaluable. And then they could do the exercises. Then they could learn about how civics works and how tax brackets work, and they could vote for the person that they think their character would vote for.
So it sounds like it's helping them gain empathy.
Yeah, absolutely. It was meant to help with empathy, and as well as civics and math and little of everything. But it was very much a lesson in empathy by just imagine what this person's life is like.
This was the emotional imprint curriculum. Yeah.
And then at the end, the senior interns connected with seniors from another school. And that in itself was magical, because the original program was a Harlem after school program. And these were inner city kids, most of them were very poor and, struggling through school. And the kids they connected with were from Hunter High School, which is the top school in the city. And these kids were, brilliant, and, they had it. Somehow they worked together. They met and they decided to write this ebook, and they did it over the course of the senior year. And they sent, it was based on Van McVulcan's work. They read his work. They wrote essays based on it. They got their classmates to do it. They edited it together, and they published this book together. And never in a million years would I have thought that this group would, be able to do that. And they did.
And that's Divides.
Yeah. Interesting. The word Divides was a domain name that had never been taken.
Oh, wow.
So that's a wonderful story. And it feels like we're all attempting to move the yardstick in our own ways, and in these, local or regional groups, what have you. But I'm wondering, especially in the wake of this assassination attempt of Trump, which I think we share in terms of seeing it as a symptom of a much larger issue, that this guy is in some way representing something massive that is happening in our culture that is very disturbing. How realistically do you see creating or co-creating this national movement? And where would you get the funding, the support for it? What are your thoughts on that, Alice?
Yeah, that is a place where I'm, looking. I mean, my fantasy is to stumble onto a rich guy who's He gets it. And it's just, here, go ahead.
Go
Yeah,
for it.
go for it. I mean, I'm putting in some money of my own. I've got somebody, Matt designs the websites and updates and does
Right.
the, arranging, and we have an intern, but it's not, it's not a lot. I'd love to get some people just to help start a movement, but you're right. It needs to be on a larger scale. As far as the idea of like the assassination attempt, people are dazzled by bright, shiny objects and by symptoms. That's bad. He's bad. They're bad. Putin's bad. Netanyahu's bad. Hamas is bad. Trump is bad. Biden's bad. Okay, so it's the way an analyst would approach a symptom. The psychiatrist in me would give them, Prozac or Zyprexa or lithium, but you can't do that on the world stage. So,
not to endure.
Yeah.
You're right. Put it in the water.
Yeah, there'd be, I was going to say some bio-terrorists.
But, I think of those people in power and the bizarreness that what's happening on the world stage as a symptom. And an analyst doesn't go right to the symptom. You go to the substructure of the matrix that's underneath.
Yeah.
And eventually the symptom goes away. What I'm thinking is, if we can get the average person, the person who's deer in headlights, because they don't know what to do, to begin these kinds of efforts, and they start the movement, and they will decide to choose leaders who can see out of two eyes at the same time. Two eyes that focus on a shared horizon give you clarity, perspective, and depth perception. We don't have two eyes that focus. We have two eyes that look in opposite directions and argue that their landscape is truth.
Right.
So we're going nowhere fast, and we can't see. If we can get enough of just the common people to do that, to come together, to focus, then the next generation will choose better leaders and will know how to solve problems, and will expect people to solve problems. And they'll want a leader who's not going to say, I know everything and you know nothing, who's going to say, I kind of, think there's this, but I know there's that. So let's talk and figure out, what to do with this and that.
So are you saying that we need funding to support facilitators to facilitate such groups, or to mobilize such groups in communities all over the country? Or what are you saying concretely?
Concretely, I mean, right now we're talking about developing an app, which we can't do because we have no funding. But a place where so people could, sort of a dating app for the anti-lover.
I love it.
And just where people can try it on for size and see what it feels like, and beat the game if they're good at it. Facilitate other dialogues and solve problems together. And where some people would just go and do it a few times and try it on for size, but others people with the skill would be able to just sort of keep going. I don't know. It's just in the imagination stage right now, but
I'm with you. I mean,
I'd love to ally with you to figure out some way to do what we're doing. Because the facilitator model, again, you need a lot of people. The Brave Angels manages to do that, and they do a wonderful job.
Yes.
But it has to be people who get it and are motivated to do it. And I'd like the peer pressure to be part of it. If people just start to say, just what they're doing now, don't think like that. Let's do this instead. Let's not get rid of that guy because he's wearing the wrong shoes. Let's invite him in and talk.
Right.
So I don't know.
Well, I'm sitting here with you in the quandary.
Mm.
Yeah. We're on to there's a tipping point. I really think that we can reach a tipping point. And I'm glad we're talking together, because the more people who are, again, come at it with different eyes, but the same horizon, I think we'll can take this somewhere.
And I wonder if we could come together as a network in some way, those of us who are involved in bridge building groups.
Yeah.
That would be interesting, and let people know of our various offerings in this way.
Mm.
But I wonder what you feel about, one of the proposals that I had that I had for a national core of mental health providers was to make longer term in-depth therapy and relationships, emotionally restorative relationships, much more affordable and accessible throughout the country.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way that we can
That's
that?
that's a whole other thing. Don't get me started about the healthcare system.
Right.
It's really, really struggling right now, and I don't know. I don't do
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I think part of the problem is that people, and especially younger people, are connecting with their machines more than with human beings, or connecting with people who are, sort of copying the machine model for living, the efficiency model for living.
Absolutely.
Including probably a lot of parents, are caught up in
Yeah.
their cell phones and modeling that kind of behavior. And so it seems like there's few places where people can have the kinds of relationships, I think, that have been so pivotal in our own lives.
Yeah.
I know having my own analyst and therapist in my own life was life-changing.
Life-changing, yes.
Life-changing.
You're right. We're moving away from that. I will often say that robots are becoming human and humans are becoming robots.
Well put.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
there's something, too digital about our relation, and even the medicine and the surgery, and everybody's on Ozempic and Wegovy, and everybody's getting Botox and nose jobs, and there we just some external fix.
Yeah.
I will be happy if I'm prettier. I will be happy if I'm thinner. I will be happy if I'm richer.
Well, this speaks to the polarized mind issue as well. I think, and it's pervasive in every area of our lives now. This idea that there's only two options, and we're swinging further apart from this ability to see. I mean, Kirk, maybe you could speak to this a little bit more, but that we have enemies in our own country, and we're divided more and more, when in reality we have a lot in common.
Yeah.
But we see them as, well, if you don't support so and so, you're not good. But we have probably 99% things in common, and how we live our day-to-day lives and all these other things. But we're swinging to, if you're not in line with me, if you don't think these things, that this is the only way to, a better life.
Yeah.
It's scary. And where technology comes into that is equally daunting.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is coming from the problem of a lack of skills and of learning how to not only tolerate ambiguity and conflict and differences within ourselves and toward other people, because we are so quickly imposed upon by the technocratic world
Yeah.
quick fix, instant result world. But so it's not only a toleration, but it's also actually learning the dire need to learn that one can really be enriched
Mhm.
by that exploration process, by the
Yeah.
whole process of exploration. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. The problem, we're so quick to say, don't be, pick your ism word,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know, but nobody says, I get the feeling you're uncomfortable around people like me. You want to talk about it?
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
so
What a different experience that would
everybody's
be.
either on guard to say all the right things, and or they're saying, F this, I'm going to say whatever I want.
Mhm.
But
Right.
there's no space to say, if you come from another planet, I'm not going to say, oh, hi there, you're now my best friend. I'm going to say, who are you?
Yeah.
I'm you make me nervous. Let's go
Uh-huh.
to Starbucks and tell me about yourself.
Nervous and
Don't come into my
interesting.
house because I don't know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
um, people with differences are like that, but we need a space to explore, to get to know, to say hard things, to listen to hard things.
Yeah.
And we don't give ourselves that.
It's like our modernization is vexing us.
Mhm.
Ironically,
Yeah.
we're making so much headway in the external world with all our gadgets,
Yeah.
but our inner lives are being almost totally gutted, or in
Yeah.
many cases.
Mhm.
Yeah. My
Just-
field, I would never become a psychiatrist now. When I was 50 years ago, it was all psychoanalysis except for the major mental illnesses. Everything had meaning. Now nothing has meaning.
Mm.
Change your brain, with behavioral models, just
Right.
stop doing that.
Yeah.
Or it's take a pill.
Yeah.
And meaning is, if it's not medically necessary, I can't get paid for it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
It's the whole other thing. We sold our soul to the devil when we demanded parity with medical professions. Now I have to be a doctor, and if you're upset about something or trying to decide about something or conflicted about something, I have to translate it into some kind of illness
Yes.
Mhm.
so I can get paid. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we have to find some way of making that encounter with otherness, with difference, with complexity, more inviting, uh, more doable, I guess, for people somehow. Because I think a lot of people are actually terrified of the increasing complexity of our world too. It does
Right.
seem like the more we become sort of postmodern in the
Yeah.
sense of no longer, relating to many traditions and
Mhm.
um, becoming very plastic in a certain way and fluid in a certain way, then there's a really tremendous backlash against that wants to take us back to the pre-modern in some ways.
That's
It's
right.
simple, quick, um, primal,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
so somehow finding a middle ground there is.
I'm wondering if we could get some young people to design memes and start a movement and various social media platforms.
Mhm.
Just we can throw ideas at them and just get some kind of a collective to see if we can reach a tipping point. Make some TikTok videos, make some you know it's I'm just thinking of something cheap.
Yeah. Maybe
Well,
maybe
and with the tools that are so popular right now, I think that
Yeah.
could definitely have some momentum.
Yeah.
Can you, I want to transition to something else because I want to make sure we cover this. Would you talk a little bit about the hot stove project and some takeaways from the documentary, How to Touch a Hot Stove?
Yeah, we Lois Oppenheim and I filmed 2 mental health documentaries, and both of them were designed to address stigma by humanizing the people who suffer from it. And you know, people would say, oh, it's okay to be mentally ill, but not who is this person is struggling with, you know, schizophrenic symptoms. The second film that we did, we followed 3 people with who hear voices, and they met, they talked to each other, they talked about their what it was like to be in their heads and their lives. And the idea was to sort of bring the symptoms alive and help people see that these are real people. One of them is a stand-up comedian, and he says the only time the voices go away is when he's on stage telling a joke, because he's so focused on whether he'll remember it, whether he'll get it right, whether the audience will respond, that that leads and the voices recede, and the rest of the voices are. I mean, that stuff is fascinating, and things.
And
yeah,
you don't really come around to that unless you're open to hearing it or discovering it with someone. I think of R.D. Laing too here, where he talked about one of his catatonic patients who became a nude model.
Oh wow.
Through their dialogue and through finding, you know, a way of working with their catatonia. I mean, I don't want to make light a very obviously challenging situation for many people, but point being that he was radically open to who you are. There are many ways of being, and if that way of being was really connecting for you, and maybe that's the way to go. And she eventually got better, according to him.
I have some marvelous patients. Some of them are in the closet because they're functioning well, and they can't tell anybody that they're functioning well because they have either antipsychotic in the medicine cabinet. And it's too bad, because, you know, I'm thinking of one who's a teacher, you know, high school teacher, and she said she would love to, you know, tell these kids, I've been there, it's okay, you know, but because the minute you say it, everyone will suddenly look at you differently.
Well,
I have another patient who's severe schizophrenic, and one day he told his family that he wanted to move to South America, and no one understood why, but everybody sort of wanted him to go away. So he moved to South America, and he did really well. And he called me once, and I said, "What happened?" He has a girlfriend. And he said, "I didn't know the language, so nobody knew I was crazy, so I wasn't crazy." You know, all I could do is say, "Can I get a sandwich?" or "Where's the bathroom?" And then you're on a par with everybody else, and you can start over. That was brilliant.
Yeah, it shows what social context can do.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm wondering in the few minutes we have left, if there's anything more you'd like to convey to us, or about this movement idea, or to the audience.
Except that I'm excited to find a way to work with you. You know, just to expand our numbers and our vision, and be creative about how to get this going. And I think that it needs to have lots of different directions, you know, like facilitators and groups. As I said, I can't do that. I can't afford to do that. You can, and Braver Angels can. So, you know, let's use them to do that. You know, maybe, you know, you and Matt, maybe with some younger people, to do some social media stuff, or, you know, get a collection of interns to brainstorm about how to shift society's consciousness in young people. And I don't know. I mean, I'm writing an analytic model. One of the things that my theory is that we went from a 1-person model to a 2-person model in psychoanalysis. What we need now is a transition to a 3-dimensional model, one that addresses difference and not pathology. We're fighting. All the listservs are fighting with each other. You're on the, you know, the Laura Sheehy, all of that. If we could just start from a place of difference and use our analytic thinking to communicate from that place, rather than weaponize our theory, to say you got anger management problems or you're a narcissist. Yeah.
Yeah, how do we get healers to be healing?
What a concept.
Yeah. Exactly. But we need peer pressure, because one person alone isn't going to do it.
Yeah.
The people who know that we need to do it are the ones who are not saying anything because they get jumped on. Or they're just going to sound too, don't do that.
Well, maybe if we had some kind of forum and involving a number of the things you've brought up, that we've brought up, that is a place, a gathering place for many of our peers, our colleagues, to take even a fraction of their week and devote themselves to it. That's one of my ideals.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, if we could get some way to just, I don't know, there's a tipping point when things start to happen.
Yeah. Before
that, it's one person pulling teeth. I mean, I do these dialogue things, and herding cats, trying to get everybody in a room together, and it's the spirit. Light bulbs have to want to change. We have to get them to